Thank you for joining us for this look at the best original reporting from KPBS News. This week, I'm Maya Trabulsi. And coming up in this newscast, World Cup star power arrives in San Diego. The San Diego Wave FC make a splash by unveiling their colorful look and introducing the Team USA legend they will build around. Reshuffling San Diego, a big decision is made on how our council districts will look ahead. We'll tell you which communities will be united and which will be split up. And the slow recovery in Imperial County. KPBS takes you to Calexico, where shops in the border town are still waiting for their customers to return. We start with a bit of a step back in California's fight against the pandemic. People across the state are being asked to put their masks back on when they go to an indoor public space. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado explains why the mask mandate is back and hears from the Union for Retail Workers, who are often asked to enforce it.
It's the week before Christmas. Shoppers are busy preparing for the holidays and now are required to wear masks indoors in public places, regardless of vaccination status. We may be divided on mask wearing, but people on both sides are frustrated.
I'm absolutely sick of it. I mean, I'm at this point, it's like, what are we doing here? You know, like, I'm definitely like, until someone makes me do it, I'm not going to do it.
The pandemic's still around. People are dying. I don't know why people complain about it. If masks help with the spray, everybody must do it to keep everybody safe.
Our members are just as frustrated with COVID and the pandemic as everybody else. They have no choice. They can't work from home.
Grocery and retail employees are often put in awkward situations, having to enforce mandates. This is a problem, says Todd Walters, the president of the local United Food and Commercial Workers Union that includes 10,000 grocery, drugstore, and retail workers in San Diego County.
With this new mask mandate, they're stuck in the middle between people that are probably frustrated and angry who don't want to wear a mask, yet our workers are the ones on the front lines that are having to see those folks when they're angry, and it's not their fault.
He says retail workers are already being hit hard by this COVID wave. Just in the last 2 months, about 4 members have died from the virus. Case numbers are up by a third, and they're bringing it home to their families.
So it's very real to them. And I just think the public needs to understand that it's not their fault. Please don't take it out on them. If you're asked to wear the mask, just put it on.
OSHA, the agency that regulates workplace safety, will soon decide whether to impose fines on businesses that do not enforce the rule on employees. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Despite some resistance to masks and vaccines, San Diego is actually a leader when it comes to people getting on board. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman recently talked with local leaders, including the county's top doctor, Wilma Wooten, about the progress made over the past year. You can stream that interview anytime at the KPBS YouTube page. San Diego State University is telling some of its students that they'll need to get boosted if they're not already. COVID-19 booster shots will be required for anyone who lives in the residence halls or is a student athlete. The football team is one example of COVID exposure this season. It caused more than a dozen players to miss a recent game. SDSU says it will provide gift cards and other prizes to those who update their vaccine record by January 18th. It's a familiar story for businesses along the U.S.-Mexico border, financial devastation due to the pandemic and border closures. But one chamber of commerce is trying to help store owners recover quickly. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel traveled to Calexico, the main border town in Imperial County, for this story.
It is not even 50%. I can say it's 90% down.
Downtown Calexico is a string of small retail stores just north of the U.S.-Mexico port of entry. These small businesses are owned and operated by local families. They rely heavily on customers coming from Mexicali. But since border crossing restrictions were put in place, business has been incredibly slow. That's how David Dadul, the store owner of Casa Imports, describes this past year. He says the lifting of restrictions on November 8th hasn't brought back many of his old customers.
I sit here all day to make one sale, $10, $20 sale. I used to do $1,000 at the worst day. I used to do $500 and I complain about it. Now, I'm down to one sale.
He isn't exaggerating. The dole keeps track of every single
11,
item he
23rd,
sells,
20.
and today,
I haven't make a sale. I open up at 8 o'clock. I open up at 8 o'clock Tuesday, November 23rd, 21. No sale.
from the pandemic, border closures, supply chain issues, and an increase in gas prices, the dole has taken hit after hit.
This is the worst I ever seen. I've been here 10 years, 11 years.
He says about 70 to 80% of his customers come from south of the border in Mexicali. He believes long wait times and vaccine requirements haven't enticed many to cross the border and shop like they used to. Just a block down from the dole is Francisco Beltran's store, Lulu's Moda. We were hoping for more sales and more people to come, but we still haven't received the people we were waiting for, he says. About 80% of his clients are also from Mexicali, and 20% are local shoppers. Regrettably, locals don't shop here. The people who come here are people from Mexicali. We make a living from the people in Mexicali, Beltran says. Walking through the streets of downtown Calexico, you see stores that have gone out of business during the pandemic.
You would see empty parking lots often, and it's just heartbreaking that those are businesses. Those are people that own those that are trying to be successful.
Barry Smith Bean is the vice president of the new Imperial Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce in El Centro. The chamber opened in September, but has been in the works for nearly 2 years. The regional chamber combined the El Centro, Imperial, and Westmoreland chambers of commerce. United as one, Bean says they'll be able to make a bigger impact in Imperial County, and they're hoping to reach neighboring cities like Calexico.
Now more than ever, the businesses just need our support.
Calexico's Chamber of Commerce closed down during the pandemic, leaving Calexico businesses to fend for themselves and find outside help.
We want to really launch, coming into this new year of 2022 with the Chamber, we want to launch some of those initiatives where we're able to work with the businesses and say, show us what you're currently doing and let us help you evolve. Let us help you find ways that you can reach more people.
The regional chamber represents about 300 businesses in the county. Although some business owners like the Dole and Beltran haven't seen an uptick like they wanted, Bean says overall there has been an increase of traffic flow coming into the county. And as some businesses have closed, others have thrived.
There's been success stories as well through this pandemic. And I think the biggest thing that we can do is we have to support our local businesses.
According to the National Retail Federation, sales are still down compared to pre-pandemic levels. But stores saw an increase in foot traffic compared to last year. During Thanksgiving week, Beltran didn't see many customers. But he says he remains hopeful that things will pick up during the holiday season. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
And this story was made possible with support from the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. The last week of fall has felt more like winter. A storm earlier this week broke some local rainfall records, and the nights have seen temperatures dip into the 30s. It's a reminder of how vulnerable people can be when they're unhoused. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman tells us about a new local shelter that will help.
Just think, there's some folks out there right now that have no idea that their lives are going to change in this facility.
This former department store off Sports Arena Boulevard is the city's newest homeless shelter. It has 44 beds and is designed to help those with substance abuse or mental health conditions.
We're launching a new category, a new program and effort that's designed to meet a need that is not presently being met.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher partnered with San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria to make this specialized shelter a reality.
The conditions on our streets are unacceptable. No one here is happy with the conditions. And that's why in the middle of a pandemic, we're sitting here and finding creative solutions to make sure that we get more people off the streets.
Homelessness is certainly becoming more visible in the Midway District area. And places like this, just blocks away from the shelter, are where those specialized outreach teams will come to bring people to try and get them some housing. Now, with only 44 beds, officials know they still have a long way to go.
These 44 beds, I want San Diegans to know, is just the beginning.
The city is paying for building and operating costs while the county is handling outreach and treatment efforts. Family Health Centers has been contracted to provide CHART, or community harm reduction teams.
And there are clinicians, substance use counselors, and peer support specialists that will be working with these individuals through time.
Piedad Garcia is deputy director for the county's behavioral health services. She says this shelter will operate under a harm reduction model.
If you are under the influence, you are not rejected for treatment, you are not rejected for shelter or bridge housing.
Day-to-day shelter operations will be run by the nonprofit Alpha Project, which also oversees other shelters near downtown.
It's always just a revolving door. And they just, I see a lot of people, I've been about 12 years I've been doing this, and I've seen a lot of the same people.
Carlos Juarez with the Alpha Project says he's hopeful that people will take advantage of the extra services here.
So I just hope this place does good. You know, I can see it doing a lot of good, you know, single beds, so they're not fighting with their bunkies, or there's nothing going on like that, you know, in space-wise. So hopefully it'll be a turnaround. They'll come in, get their help they need, and get housing.
While there is multi-year funding, the shelter is considered temporary as the property is part of the Midway redevelopment plan. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Substance abuse has always been a problem in schools. Drugs like fentanyl and other opioids are increasingly the most dangerous trouble spots. Education reporter MG Perez tells us about the county's first virtual summit trying to reach our teens.
It's storytelling at its best and most devastating.
This is my favorite way. Oh my God.
This drug overdose is not real.
Does anybody have Narcan?
It's a performance by theater students here at San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. This campus hosted the first ever Opioid Summit, sponsored by the District Attorney's Office, the County Department of Education, and other organizations committed to stopping an epidemic that is killing as many as 1,000 people a year, most of it from fentanyl and other opiates.
It's a true crisis, and if we don't get that information to them, we can't be at every corner trying to protect them.
A former high school basketball star is in trouble with the law.
The summit was live streamed to hundreds of classrooms across the county, and students heard the horrific story of former NBA star Chris Herron. His drug use started young with members of his high school team.
Out of those 15 kids, 7 of us turned into heroin addicts.
We put too much emphasis on the worst day and we forget the first day. With our children, we want to show them drug addicts. We want to drive them around the neighborhood and say, look at that person. There's a progression to this. There's a beginning to it.
For Herron, opiate abuse led to at least 4 overdoses he can remember, and he died for a moment during one of them. He and others shared their stories during the live stream, including the young man who became quadriplegic after an opioid overdose, and a San Diego Padres pitcher, too.
And I was guilty of it at a young age. You know, you think it's cool to be seen as the guy at the party with the beer.
The adult statistics are devastating enough, but according to the San Diego Medical Examiner's Office, in 2020, 19 children under the age of 18 died from opioid overdoses. This year, that number is also 19, with a couple of weeks still left to go.
And I hope that if I just helped one person, you know, say, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that tonight, or maybe I should skip that party tonight, then I hope that I've accomplished what I'm supposed to do.
Living in San Diego, you know, it's a very big culture, but I'm very aware of the culture around me, and I avoid it at all costs.
That's a message everyone should hear. MG Perez, KPBS News.
And here are some of the most popular stories this week at kpbs.org, starting with more from our schools. Starting on January 1st, California's public colleges must update their records for students who legally changed their names. iNewsSource revisits local zip codes that are struggling with some of the highest COVID-19 case numbers, and a story that continues to generate a lot of interest. Amita Sharma's look at surveillance tech used by the city of Chula Vista is one of our top stories this week at kpbs.org. San Diego now knows how its communities will be split up by council districts in the years ahead. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says not everyone will be pleased by the new map.
The new map unites some neighborhoods, including Claremont and Rancho Penasquitos, into a single council district. Right now, those are split between two districts. But the map also splits up other neighborhoods to even out each district's population. Mission Valley will straddle 3 council districts. Redistricting Commission Chair Tom Hebrank says trade-offs were unavoidable.
Mission was not able to keep every community whole without violating other redistricting principles and maintaining an equal population balance, and it was necessary to split some of the communities in the final map and plan.
The map passed on a 7-2 vote. The 2 dissenters said the commission's refusal to create one coastal district came at the expense of everyone else, especially disadvantaged and minority communities.
And as a result, we were forced into making tough decisions and sort of pitting those communities against each other, rather than making those tough decisions in those historically advantaged coastal communities.
UCSD students were also unhappy that their campus will be split between 2 districts after months of calling for the university to be separated from La Jolla and grouped with the more diverse University City. The final map was drawn based on 2020 census data. The next redistricting process in the city won't happen for another 10 years. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
It's been a busy week for transportation projects in San Diego, including a big makeover for the airport. San Diego International broke ground on a rebuild of Terminal 1. That is the wing of the airport that houses Southwest, JetBlue, and a few smaller airlines. Work will be done in phases, with the full renovation opening in 2028. A major road project by the border just reached the finish line. New connector bridges from State Route 125 to the 905 and 11 freeways are now open. The bridges will allow vehicles to avoid passing through neighborhoods. California has the largest marketplace in the country for solar power. Adding panels to a home is a big investment, and changes to how people are reimbursed might be on the way. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson explains.
City Heights Courtyard Cottage. Come on, Max, come on. Got my tangerines, got my avocados going here.
Castillo bought this house in the late 1990s when he was still in the Navy. The 61-year-old remembers how cheap electricity used to be.
Bills were about $18 a month, $22 a month at the highest. But that was the way energy was in all the United States. I think we were only paying about $1.20, $1.10 for gasoline at the time.
His electric bill climbed over the years, topping out at about $280 a month. That's why he added solar energy and a new air conditioning unit.
Putting this thing is so quiet, uses about that much energy, that much. Why? Because those beautiful gaseous balls hanging up there in the sky. You know, what gives us energy, gives us warmth, grows tomatoes.
Castillo leases his solar system, so there were no upfront costs. This is one of more than 1.3 million solar rooftop systems installed in California. Nearly 15% of the state's electricity production comes from solar systems like the one on Castillo's home. But the economics of solar could be changing soon. The current state regulations, known as net energy metering, are designed to encourage the move to rooftop solar. They set the cost of electricity sold by residents and include a small monthly fee for fixed utility costs. But that could be changing.
15 years ago, our electric rates were half of what they are today, and solar panels were more than twice as expensive.
The Natural Resources Defense Council's Mohit Chabra is among those asking regulators to roll back the subsidy currently paid to rooftop solar owners. His organization is advocating sharply cutting back how much utilities are required to pay for the electricity generated on rooftops, and he wants to charge a hefty monthly connection fee based on the size of a solar system. A charge could be $40 to $50 a month.
People will still save money. They'll just save less.
The lower buyback charges and flat monthly fees could mean it'll take solar owners 10 to 12 to 15 years to pay off their upfront investment to put the panels on their roofs. Chabra says payback times right now are only about 4 to 6 years.
So if you had solar, for example, you will still, per my estimate, save around 50% of your bill if you size your solar system correctly with our export rate change and with this charge. You just won't save close to 100% because certain fees are fixed fees for maintaining the grid that we all depend on, and social costs that I mentioned that are independent of electricity use.
The California Public Utilities Commission is considering more than 70 proposals to adjust the net energy metering rules. The suggestions range from changing very little to ones that call for steep monthly grid connection fees and slashing how much utilities are forced to pay to buy back electricity from residents. Solar advocates say eliminating the financial incentive for residents to spend thousands of dollars installing solar panels could crush demand. That endangers 68,000 California jobs.
It will mean laying off a majority of their workforce or potentially closing their doors.
Karina Gonzalez works for Hammond Climate Solutions, a company advocating for net energy metering to only get small tweaks. She says rooftop solar needs to be encouraged because it's critical to help meet the state's clean air goals.
Less rooftop solar means that we're using more dirty energy, worsening the climate crisis, contributing to climate racism that's in Kern County and where there's fracking in people's backyards. And we just think at a time when there's a climate emergency, we can't afford to be taking away clean energy solutions from families.
California's investor-owned utilities filed their proposed revisions more than a year ago, but San Diego Gas and Electric steers requests for interviews to surrogates like the Natural Resources Defense Council or the Utility Reform Network. The company declined to make an official available for an interview both last summer and in recent weeks. An email statement says the utility is engaged in the formal process. Quote, "We are eager to see a resolution that allows the solar industry to continue to thrive and addresses existing inequities." End quote. The California Public Utilities Commission is expected to unveil their plans to adjust net energy metering soon. That preliminary proposal would be vetted and then voted on by the commissioners early next year. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The work of Dr. Seuss is everywhere, especially the Grinch around Christmas. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne shows us an exhibit in Solana Beach that has a secret side of the famous San Diego author.
Thing 1 and Thing 2, The Grinch and the Cat in the Hat. All well-known characters from Dr. Seuss's imagination, but not so well-known, his secret midnight art.
The secret art of Dr. Seuss, or the midnight paintings, which is what nobody knew that he was actually a fine artist while he was living. So this is that's why it's called the secret art. Now, not so secret.
Cynthia Celestino is the gallery director at Exclusive Collections Gallery in Solana Beach. This is where the Art of Dr. Seuss collection will be showcased until December 31st. Visitors are greeted by the infamous Cat in the Hat artwork, but turn the corner and visitors get to see a different side of Dr. Seuss.
Like, people always get amazed and say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know he was a painter. Like, this doesn't even look like Dr. Seuss. But now that you told me it's Dr. Seuss, I can see a little Seussy reaction, on there. It's some of them a little naughty, some of them, it's just funny, and there is a lot of cats.
Colorful, never-before-seen pieces of wacky and three-dimensional shapes show Dr. Seuss's artistic range. But the meaning behind the art isn't all that clear.
But maybe there was a crazy band playing, or because look at all these characters. So it's interesting, just like his imagination.
The art displayed aren't originals. Instead, they are authorized limited edition prints. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
One of America's most accomplished soccer stars is coming to San Diego. Melissa May caught up with World Cup champ Alex Morgan at the big reveal for San Diego Wave FC.
San Diego, our crest has risen. Our time to stand together is now. The Wave is calling.
The league's newest expansion team, the San Diego Wave FC, revealed their crest and colors to the public. As a wave rises, it forms a crest with a horizon.
Colors of a sky as vibrant and proud as our culture. The colors of the sand we play in and the common ground we share. Colors that showcase the beauty of our Pacific Ocean.
Soccer football is everywhere in this city, and the rich tradition and history of soccer is why I truly believe this town will fall in love with our team.
Wave FC president Jill Ellis describes how the team name came to be.
The name takes inspiration from the city's pristine and powerful coastline, and we have every intention of being a bold force in today's professional sports landscape. Soccer isn't just a game, it's part of life. It's part of your community, where girls are not only encouraged to play the game, but they are also given the platform to thrive and to perform.
Casey Stoney is the Wave FC's first head coach and hopes having a local professional women's soccer team to cheer for inspires young females to play soccer. One local youth player, Melanie Barcenas, is already a fan.
I'm super excited and cannot wait for this amazing season to kick off and to be able to cheer for my own local team.
Barcenas is inspired by U.S. women's national team members and Wave FC's recent signings, Alex Morgan and Abby Dahlkemper.
They are strong and fierce women that have already accomplished so many great things, and that is why I look up to them. That has helped women's soccer grow and change for the better.
Being a Southern California native, Alex Morgan is excited to make a long-term commitment to the club and the city.
I want to be able to give back to the community that I live in, and not only does that mean playing on the field and inspiring the next generation and young girls, but actually digging into the community and being a part of of why these girls continue to play soccer.
Wave FC's inaugural season kicks off in May, and they will temporarily play at USD's Torero Stadium until Snapdragon Stadium, their permanent home in Mission Valley, is completed. Melissa May, KPBS News.
And we hope that you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Thanks for joining us.